So now Trump has a plan for Gaza. We'll find them a plot of land, maybe 2 or more. Build them some nice, beautiful places where they can be happy. Oh yes, after leveling their homes, after burying their children under rubble, after turning an entire city into unlivable wasteland, now suddenly Trump wants to do Gazans a favor. Because you see, in his mind, the problem isn't that Israel has massacred tens of thousands, displaced millions, and obliterated entire neighborhoods. No. The problem is that Gazans are still there. So what's the solution? Get rid of them. Find them a plot of land somewhere, doesn't really matter where, just not in Gaza. The excuse today? Gaza is destroyed. It is uninhabitable, as Steve Witkoff, Trump's billionaire mogul friend, put it. And whose fault is that, Steve? Did Gaza just disappear on its own? Did its homes, its schools, its centuries-old mosques and churches just decide to collapse? Was it hit by an earthquake, a natural disaster? Or was it Israeli bombs, American bombs, 50,000 tons of them, leveling entire neighborhoods, burying entire families alive? And of course, who's paying for this grand humanitarian project? The Arabs. Because as Trump so eloquently put it, there's a lot of money in that area. That's all the Middle East is to him. Money, land, oil, gas. Not nations, not people, not histories, not identities. Just resources to be seized, deals to be made, profits to be counted. But this isn't just about business, it's colonialism dressed as capitalism. Trump isn't just another greedy developer looking for land. He is both a racist colonialist and a ruthless businessman. And the hypocrisy, the glorious hypocrisy. This is the same Trump who built his entire political brand on shutting borders. The man who ranted and raved about migrants invading America, who caged children at the border, who banned refugees, who called asylum seekers criminals and rapists. But when it comes to the Palestinians, suddenly migration is good. Suddenly displacement is necessary. Suddenly he's all about relocation and resettlement. Trump, the man who fought tooth and nail to keep refugees out of America, now wants to force Palestinians out of their homeland. It's not just hypocrisy, it's grotesque. And it's not just Trump, it's the entire system that enables him. Because let's be clear, the forced transfer of Palestinians isn't some fringe idea. It's not just the delusion of Israel's far-right extremists. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir's vision of mass expulsion is now US policy. Palestinians must leave, Gaza must be emptied, and to make it palatable, it's all being rebranded as voluntary migration. You know, Trump may think he's come up with this brilliant, unprecedented solution, but Israel has been trying to get rid of Gaza's population since the moment it occupied it. In 1967, after Israel seized Gaza, its leaders, not the far-right fanatics of today, but the so-called left-wing moderates, sat in their cabinet meetings discussing how to make Gaza disappear. Prime Minister Levy Ashkol spoke openly of emptying out Gaza first. Not ruling it, not even controlling it, removing it. Defense Minister Moshe Dayan suggested that only a quarter of Gaza's population should remain, while the rest must be removed from there under any arrangement that's made. Ashkol wanted to make life so unbearable that Palestinians would simply leave on their own. He was clear about the method. He says, and I quote, "Perhaps if we don't give them enough water, they won't have a choice because their orchards will yellow and wither." Another minister, Yosef Sapir, put it more bluntly, "We should take them to the East Bank, that's Jordan, by the scruff of their necks and throw them there. And I don't know who will take them, especially the Gaza refugees." Remember, 87 of Gaza's inhabitants are refugees from the towns and villages cleansed in 1948 to make way for Israel. The same language, the same logic, the same genocidal vision. The only difference? Back then in 1967, Gaza's population was 400,000. Today, it's 2.5 million. Ashkol's plan failed, and so will Trump's. Because Gaza is not a land without a people. Gaza is not some plot for sale. Gaza is part of Palestine, and Gaza does not surrender. Gaza has always resisted. Dayan, the man who wanted to thin Gaza's population, thought he had finally crushed its resistance in the 1970s. He thought that if he could assassinate Ziad al-Husseini, the Palestinian commander leading the resistance in Gaza and northern Sinai after their occupation, the fight would end. He was so convinced of it that in frustration he admitted, "I rule Gaza by day, but al-Husseini rules it by night." So Israel went after him. They arrested his mother, Su'ad al-Husseini, tortured her, gouged out one of her eyes. And on November 21st, 1971, they finally assassinated Ziad when he was only 32. And they thought that was it, that Gaza would break, that its people would submit, that its resistance had been buried with him. It wasn't. It only grew stronger. And as Mahmoud Darwish, the famous poet, wrote in 1971, "Gaza is no longer a city. It is a burning battlefield in which the adversary's victories, hopes, values are tested. The illusory facts on the ground he is trying to create, thinking that time is on his side, will be mocked by that very same time, as well as by the trail of crushing defeats past invaders suffered in the alleyways of Gaza at the hands of its sons and daughters." That was written half a century ago. And today, after everything, after the bombs, the starvation, the massacres, Gaza still stands. Trump may repeat it 100 times. Take the people, take the people, take the people. But the people of Gaza have already answered with their bodies, with their voices, with their march through the ruins, with their refusal to leave the land that is theirs. We are not leaving.